Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Sight Club and the Tom Numbers Show. And you can see I've got Rachel Right Side Blonde with me.
Hi, everybody.
So people will see that I'm actually stateside right now. We've got an event that's taking place with 107.
Should I give them a clue where we're at?
Yes, here you go.
Here's your clue.
Tejas.
There we go, in Texas. So there's a whole bunch of Patriots. We'll put the link below. Anyone want to come to it? We'll be there tomorrow, Saturday. So if people want to come along, they can. So we'll put the link below. But we've got Michael Jaco with us in the house, of course. So Janine, do you want to tell everyone about your website and then Michael about yours, and then we'll kick off the show?
Okay, well, hello, Michael. Hello, Rachel, and hello, Tom. Glad to see you. So I have a website now. That's where you find my work, uncensored and uncut. That's maybe not always a good thing, the uncut part. I don't have Guy working with me anymore. So yeah, they just go up the way I say it. And you can find it at TBJ, I'll just say that, tbj.com. So we won't say the whole words there, but tbj.com, simple, easy to find. And yeah, Michael, tell us how to find you.
Yeah, it's michaelkjaco.com, and I have my own channel as well there. You can click on it and join us. I'm no longer on YouTube, so YouTube censors a lot of us. So I'm not going to play the game. I'll come on here with Tom. Tom can still play the game. We'll see how long he gets away with it. But other than that, I'm done with YouTube. So.
Yeah.
And you can find Rachel at Right Side Blonde on YouTube, and you can find myself at Sight Club on YouTube, and also the Tom Numbers Show. And I've got Telegram and other channels. You see all the links below. Janine's got Telegram. I think, Michael, you've got other channels as well, so we can put all those up. And I wanted to say, Michael, before we kick off the show, I saw your episode with Greg Brady, which was awesome. I've been a fan of Greg's for a long, long time, and he has discovered something within the DNA code which links to kind of numbers and words. And he comes up with a phrase which is God eternal within the body. It comes to 263. But I just thought it was a really good episode, Michael, and and it's interesting that Greg has discovered quite a while ago this connection between the DNA, the codes, and actual words from the divine. So to kick off the episode, Janine, I've got a question. So people know that I've been traveling around, and I've kind of traveled even further in the last day or two. But I was down on the south coast of England for probably a few weeks doing different videos. When I did the last one with yourself and Michael, and I went to a live gig, a live performance in a place called Swanage, which is on the south coast of England. Swanage is very beautiful. I think because it's very beautiful, it was probably captured by other people that liked it maybe a while ago historically. I've heard that as well. So to paint a picture, there's just on the side of the kind of crescent of the bay of the ocean, there's two pillars. One I think kind of looks like Boaz, and another one, it's kind of a society that have kind of these two pillars. I think people know what we're talking about. There's an obelisk behind it, but when you're on this little hill, you look back into the town and you see the sun come down. It's really beautiful and picturesque. And there's like an amphitheater. It kind of has got this kind of ancient Greek feel, but it kind of made me think there's probably kind of Celtic, other things that have gone on there historically. But they had this live band. And the interesting thing about it, it was called the Reptiles. The name of the band was called the Reptiles in the evening. And then the guy, he looked like a wizard, and he kind of had a captive audience. And I was in there and I was thinking, I think he's going to start doing stuff. And I thought he was spellcasting, because he was babbling, he was making up words to the lyrics, changing songs, and they were a good performing band. They were doing cover songs. But I felt like I just felt like I'm gonna go. But my question is, was this guy, the lead singer of the Reptiles, this kind of cover band, was he spellcasting? That was my feeling. I'm wondering what the cards say on that.
That's a soft yes. So maybe not literally be notes to him. He could have been channeling something. I feel like he tends to channel in his creativity. Maybe he doesn't even realize he's channeling entities that would be spell casting. He feels like it's unbeknownst to him. We've got the
Okay.
fools. He doesn't even realize. So he thinks it's a creative process. It's actually a channeling. I've seen Beyonce channel demons. I've seen lots of different, so he might have been, something happened to him as a young person, MK Ultra or something, because I'm getting this
Okay.
5 of cups. So something happened in the past that might have led to this ability, unbeknownst to him, to channel dark entities. So yeah, he was.
Okay. Interesting. And then, I don't know if you remember our last episode, I mentioned along the Bournemouth beach, I'd see these off-world ships. We kind of concluded that they were off-world ships. So I'd seen the high ones, really high up, like kind of scout ships moving slowly across the sky. They look like stars that just move. But then really on a lower altitude, I saw these green and red kind of alternating lights that would just kind of skip along the beach. They'd appear in the moon. It was kind of like this childlike playing. And you said, yeah, they're off-world craft, kind of looking out for us. And we've all kind of been having things like that. Now, when I was in this kind of amphitheater with this band, I felt like I need to just probably go. And then I looked up and I saw all of a sudden, and I hadn't seen one in Swanage, I saw the red lights again, 2 of them. And I was like, is that a drone or not? I couldn't tell, but I couldn't hear any propellers. And then they would flash green and red again. And then they kind of expand, they get wider. So my direct question for you in the cards is, was that again one of those kind of UFO type ships, or was it a drone?
I also, while you were talking, I was pulling cards, so I got a soft yes again. And I get it was more towards like alliance, looking out for people, knowing that that band channels that kind of energy.
No, okay.
So they were
Right.
like, so that's the alliance, Mr. T and
Yeah.
the alliance part. And so it's unbeknownst to the band that they're channeling, but these guys know about it. So they're trying to minimize the sort of damage.
Yeah, that's really interesting you say that, actually, because I hadn't thought of it quite like that. But my feeling was whatever was going on, I felt like I just needed to kind of go. And then I saw the lights and I was like, okay. And then they kind of moved to the side and I went around kind of out of the amphitheater area, kind of over some bushes and trees. And then they kind of expanded, like the lights separated a lot wider. I thought, I might be able to see, what the source is. And then it had gone. But I felt I should kind of say, yeah, cancel whatever was going on energetically. And I felt that's why they popped up as well, to kind of nullify what was going on. So it's really interesting, the nuance that you've seen, that unbeknownst to the band, nevertheless, the alliance was there to nullify that, because that's what I felt. It was helping kind of my intention to nullify it as well. That's what I felt at the time. So that's really cool, yeah. And one other question about that location. What's the feeling you get historically with that? With the 2 pillars, with the obelisk, the kind of amphitheater, the location.
Well, it's been changed. So
Mhm.
it went from demonic to good guys. See how the
Yeah.
demon's on the bottom there? Okay,
Yes.
so I feel like it recently changed and we got the death card underneath, which is about transformation. So I think it was used for bad, but it's
Yeah.
been transformed. So
Right.
I think they're working on changing energies. I feel like they've been doing that for years, maybe.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. I felt it's a very magnetic place. It's very powerful, the location, everything about it. And I was like, I'm sure there's something that's taken place historically here. But I was feeling, yeah, as with all of it, that things are changing and changing for the good. And maybe that's why I was there. Maybe it's kind of a marker along the way. I had to kind of go and witness it and have that thing with the band and the alliance. So yeah, really cool. Thank you. Michael, what have you seen in the last week in terms of just the big picture where we're going?
Yeah, just to comment on that area of England, in Glastonbury. I spent some time there. I wanted to get the energy of the place because I remote viewed and had past lifetimes of working with Jesus. So Jesus came there to study. Jesus's uncle went there after the crucifixion and planted basically his staff, which turned into what's called the Glastonbury thorn. So when I started talking about all this, I wrote this book, and I was sharing some pieces from the book many years ago, and somebody actually after I started sharing that, someone actually cut down what was supposedly the original Glastonbury thorn. So we know that these guys, like Janine's talking about, they come in and do negative stuff. I've been to events where I knew that people were spell casting, and they're trying to get people to sing along with the lyrics and stuff like that. It's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then later on, we found out that it was spell casting. They're trying to get people to, take it to another level. So it does happen, but that area has incredible energy. So they're constantly trying to come in and compromise that, and tear down the good systems and implement their negative system. So what Janine is saying is, I completely agree with it. They come in and try and implement their negative energies, but they're basically shut down from the good guys. Yeah.
Did you say, Michael, that it was the Glastonbury tour or thorn? You were saying
The Glastonbury tour was where supposedly Joseph of Arimathea landed.
Yeah.
That high hill. It's got the So
the tour.
he
Yeah,
landed there, and there was another place where they did the Glastonbury Abbey, and the Glastonbury Abbey, of course, was burned by King Henry VIII, because he basically took down all the good guys. He was a bad guy. He's reputed to be like, I remember reading about him because I know he's a bad guy, because we talked about my past life and being taken down as one of the kings, Richard III. So basically, when the guy that took my kingdom and had his son, his first son was Arthur, named after King Arthur, and he died. And then of course we had Henry VIII come in and take over and do his nasty, cutting the heads off his wives and all the other stuff he did. But everybody in England, I remember reading this one article, he's very well recognized and thought to be a good guy. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of this compromised consciousness that is still at work here. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with all that.
The numbers.
But as far as like what I'm looking at, I look at right now, they're trying to take down Trump in many different ways. They feel that if they get him, then the rest of America and the world will collapse. They're like trying to fund the banks in evil ways. They're saying, oh, we're going to pay back all the student debt. But in what I'm looking at is the student debt payback is basically paying the banks. It's a way for them to pay the banks, because the banks are in trouble. They're about to fail. They know their system's about to fail, so they're trying to prop it up. So they're saying, oh, we're going to take care of the student loans. Well, many of those student loans are in forfeiture. So to help the banks and protect the banks, they're like, oh, we're going to pay off all the student loans, and that's going to give us more votes. Of course, it's multifaceted every time they do one of these things. So they're helping out the banks mainly, and then they're trying to like build their reputation for helping out the underprivileged, people that went to college and didn't get their loans paid. So what I would like to ask is if that's the case of Janine, or is that payoff for the student loans, which is $300 billion. Meanwhile, we have 20 million people that are about ready to have their power cut off because they can't afford the bills because of the shutdowns. They don't have any jobs, but yet they're going to pay student loans. Is that student loan for the banks?
Yes.
You don't even have to go further. So yes, exactly, trying to prop up the banks, nurturing the banks. Absolutely. You nailed it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
as well, Michael, when you were talking about Glastonbury, so I just did the numbers on Glastonbury, and that come to 154, which comes to TBJ. So,
Wow.
you know, Glastonbury's a magical place, but 154 comes to TBJ. TB Janine, that's what it comes to, 154 Glastonbury. And then Tor, Tor, I thought you were saying that, but I wasn't sure if you were saying Thorn as well. So I just wanted to clarify what the word was. But the Tor, the tower,
Right.
you obviously got the tower card. Tor comes to 53, which comes to Janine. So Janine 53 and Glastonbury 154 comes to TBJ. So I thought that was really cool. And when you said about the banks crashing, Michael, so if you do the banks crash, so banks is 47, which is Rachel. Crash is 49, which is yes. Takes you 96. But the banks crash comes to 129. 129 is Judgment Day. We were talking about that before. And we're talking about the connection in Terminator with August 29th. But there might be another day that might be Judgment Day as well, which we might look at in a little while. But Rachel,
I had a question.
Yeah.
I know we're going to take it back, but I just was curious about the spell casting. You know, October's coming up. There's Hocus Pocus. There's that scene in the movie where they're up singing to everybody and casting spells. Can people cast a spell on you if you energetically do not consent? I'm curious how this works.
Can I answer that?
Yes, I'm curious.
Yeah, for years, I read cards for people and really got into that because a lot of people come for readings and believe they're being spell casted. Okay. Often people that think they're being spell casted are deeply self-loathing, are not doing their self-love work, not empowered, and not feeling like they have personal boundaries are really bad for people that think they're like, you would have to be truly able to, like, fear-based thinking can, you can be open to spell casting, like people basically the way they want, the dark cult wants to keep you, that's the way you would have to be to easily be spell cast. Okay, like people talked about it all the time, and it was almost always work they had to do and boundaries. People can try to spell cast, but it'll bounce right back at them if they're literally working towards or putting their negative energy towards a empowered person who loves themselves. Your biggest protection against that kind of thing is none other than self-love, self-respect, and not buying it for 1 second that they could do that. If you actually feel like you could be spellcast, now you're open to it.
That makes sense. Because you go to a concert and you sing lyrics, and I don't like energetically feel those lyrics most of the time. So if they are spell casting and you are singing the lyrics, I still don't feel like I could be spell casted on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If we were talking about that, so I was curious how that works.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. Going back to August 29th, we spoke about that with Judgment Day with the film. So Mrs. Handy Are You, Kathy, she pointed something out to me. I'd done the numbers on this before, but I'd forgotten them. But I remember them when she pointed them out. So if you do August 29th, if you spell the three words August 29th, it comes to 261. And I'm giving the reference to the Terminator film, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and they say on August 29th, such and such happens. And obviously we're close to that, and we've had kind of, some stuff on the cards and stuff that Michael was saying. And maybe something will be then, I don't know. But another value for August 29th equals 261 is also November 22nd, which is when Kennedy was assassinated. And also, this one, Janine, so when Princess Diana went in Paris, that was August 31st. August 31st also comes to 261. So August 29th comes to 261. November 22nd comes to 261. And August 31st also comes to 261. And I was thinking, wow, so maybe there's a few Judgment Days. And the other thing about it is with Kennedy, it seems to be the thought that when the shot was fired, it was in Washington, it was in Texas, where we are now, actually. It was at 12:29, and it was also at 1:29 in Washington on the East Coast. And 1:29 comes to the two words Judgment Day again, which comes to, as Michael said, the banks crash, 1:29. So maybe there's a few things there, but maybe we could look at a few pieces along the way. But is there a connection with Judgment Day and Kennedy's date, November 22nd? Is there some kind of connection there? Because it feels like there might be, but I just wanted to have a look at that.
Even if you think about it, like the judgment card is a wake-up call. So
Right.
certainly when JFK falsified his passing, but it appeared like he was, shot.
Yeah.
It's Judgment Day. I mean, it's a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call to, well, I even remember or remember being told about it at least and crying, and I was just a child. Like,
Yeah.
somehow it affected me profoundly. So something's going on there. I think it was a judgment wake up for humanity, wake up that the dark cults, this is the kind of thing they do with our, people that are trying to do good, Diana, AFK, like the wake up, right? So just thinking about it that way, but let's have a look.
Yeah.
So what was that date for JFK again?
It's November 22nd. And when you spell the three words November 22nd, they equal 261 in gematria. And August 29th, the one in the film Terminator 2, which they call Judgment Day, also equals 261. So they're synonymous. August 29th also equals ace. There you go. Wow.
Yeah, big ace. So yes, that's in the past, but joy to come. So that date might bring joy this year because it says patience. Wow. That date will bring joy and celebration. So it was a judgment day, but it could also be a wake up day this year.
Wow.
Or a celebration party day. I hope we're already done the waking up part by then.
Yeah.
I mean, we both have, but I'm talking about the rest of the world, right?
And also, so Diana's date, August 31st, also comes to 261. So August 29th comes to 261. November 22nd, Kennedy's date, comes to 261. And Diana's date, August 31st, also comes to 261. Were they chosen by both sides? I have a feeling that both sides are aware of those dates, the gematria on both. And I'm wondering, I have a feeling that the good guys chose those dates, but that's my gut feel. But let's maybe have a look at the cards on that.
Soft, yes, but I pulled that when you said both sides, and then I got this card. So I have a feeling it was more the good guys.
Yes. Yeah.
My feeling is they had it planned, but the good guys jumped the gun did it. Yeah. Took away the timing and took away things that they had planned. That's what I got. I did that a long time ago. I looked into it. So it looks like it was the off-world sort of, wise old soul galactic helper, our future selves, who chose the date for whatever spiritual reasons. That would be a good date.
Yes. There's a lot of interesting things as well about that. So Kennedy was on a Friday. Friday comes to 63. It happened in 63. And also, if you spell the word 11, it's 63. And Kennedy did the 11-11 order, the 11-110 silver order, not long before he passed or went into protection. The day after, if you do November 23rd, Saturday, November 23rd, that comes to 369, which comes to time travel witness protection, also comes to John Kennedy witness protection, and the Tesla number is 369. So I do think it is all coded. But when I was asking that part about both, and then I kind of veered to the white hats, that kind of subtle change came as I was just kind of saying it. It's interesting you felt that as well. It's like kind of a bit of both, but then it leaned towards the white hats. And that's what I kind of felt as I was asking the question. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I've had Ole Demogard, who's he's really into this going into deeply into how these assassinations go down and why they happen and who's pushing them and how it unfolds and everything. He came on and he talked about this. They were using umbrellas to signal. So I've had other people on that are in the, because we were just talking about off-worlders. There's other people that have come on that I've worked with from the secret space program that talk about how there's a group. There's all these negative groups. They're like kind of like bad guy groups. One of them is called the Umbrella Group. So they were using umbrellas to signal, and that's one of their signatures. So there's lots of different ways these guys signal. Umbrellas were used on that day. So Ole has told me about that, but he doesn't know anything about the SSP, but I do. I've talked to those guys and they talk about Umbrella Group. And of course they have that one show on Netflix, I think it is, called the Umbrella Academy. So there's all kinds of different little, and they have like a robot, you know, from like the 60s or something. That's part of that's one of their mom. So there's all kinds of little clues they leave us on the stuff. So yeah, definitely was off-world activity that was going on that day. Some people have said that whoever that was playing Kennedy's part was like a, you know, kind of like a robot type thing, and clone or whatever. And one of the reasons why, you know, his wife jumped up and got the brains was because she didn't want them to get that, so that they'd know that wasn't his DNA. So there's all kind of different things that happen on that day that signal that yes, there was white hat activity, but even off-world activity from the bad guys and the good guys. So interesting.
Wow.
He's a white hat.
Yeah.
He's a protector in a white hat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brilliant. Yeah. I got the shivers on that, Janine. Yeah. Dan, if you're listening, thank you, buddy. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you get these vibes? You always pick up these vibes on people.
It's the good vibes, yeah. People should go and say hi to him because it's amazing. I mean, the dedication for 26, 27 years, however long he's been there. And I'm like, yeah, there's something special about him. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I went there too, just before January 6th. So I'm on my way from Lake Tahoe, and I drove down and visited that. So I'm getting the feel of where the shots went down. I'm doing a video of it, and I felt one of them was from behind the fence that's up on the grassy knoll, and then I was like there's something down here, and I'm like, how did somebody hide down here, you know, down on the road? And then Scott McKay comes up the first time we met. So he's like, I heard you were down here doing a show, so I want to come meet you. And he says, right there, down there, in like there's like a sewer. Yeah, he said that's where one of the kill shots was. And I was like, so that's what I was feeling. So yeah, there's and then Ole Demogard, you know, said they had like well over a dozen people, you know, along the route that were going to shoot if they needed to. So they had many people that were involved in that. Most of them were killed off afterwards. They thought they were like, you know, part of some of them mafia, some of them were special forces guys that they pulled into a special program, making them think that they were doing something for the government. You know, they brainwashed. But a lot of those people were executed later, suicided, and all that kind of stuff. So they just covered their tracks. Of course, George W. Bush was there on that day. He was noticed to be in a suit and walking around and with an umbrella. So
there you go.
Yeah, somebody saw him with an umbrella. Yeah, so signaling, and I don't know if he like picked it up and signaled with it and then put it down, because there's other shots and videos he doesn't have it. So it's but other people like Ole have said they saw the umbrellas too. So interesting stuff.
You know, as you say that about the umbrella, Michael, also as well on DV Plaza. So there's a photograph of when that, you know, the time that took place. But there was an advertisement on the building, on the book depository, and it's Hertz, Hertz. So like, you know, the Hertz. I think it's probably the Hertz I don't know if they had rentals back then, or maybe it was an energy company. But the interesting thing about it is the word hertz equals 77, which is obviously a really powerful number. But that equals Christ. It equals what else does it equal? Equals something else. But hertz, yeah. So frequency, quasar as well. But Christ, which I thought was interesting. And also, this is another one. So the day of the year that took place is the 326th day of the year. So it's 326, which comes to the second coming of Jesus Christ, which is interesting. So I don't know if there's a connection between Christ and Kennedy. Maybe we could look at that. And there was another piece. I can't remember what the question was now. It'll pop back in again.
Yeah. So along those lines, Glastonbury. And Glastonbury supposedly, and I felt that it was because I went there and felt their remains had been there at one time, was King Arthur and Queen Guinevere. So a lot of people said that JFK and Jackie were the return of Camelot. And I had a psychic that told me they were. So that might be interesting to see what Janine has to say about that. Is, was that return of Camelot, and was it because it sounds like, because they were very spiritual, both of them, and they were into the Christ consciousness. So maybe they're down from that line or something. Who knows?
Interesting. It looks like it might not be time to know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It says wait, information coming out on that. You're going to get clarity on that, but it's not time yet. So that's not a yes or a no. It's not time for that yet. Maybe a big part of humanity can't know that yet for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Interesting.
I did a George collection video today on the CIA, and I'm curious. President Kennedy said he wanted to get rid of the CIA. I'm curious what the cards say about the future of the CIA.
Oh, that's a great question. I say they go bye-bye. So I think they and the FBI.
Yeah, they're a 10 already, so they could already be dismantled in the background. And a lot of them are up for being evaluated in the some form of justice in the system. So being evaluated, because the 6 is like equivalent to Libra, so justice. So we've got the 2. So I'd say, yeah, they were already on shaky ground, even coming into the last 3 or 4 years. So it feels like they were already outed to a large degree. And there could be a few minions still doing their work that they were, MK altered to do, or whatever happened. Like the ones left feel like they're just the diehards who maybe don't think for themselves. They've been programmed. Yeah, that's the outcome. So that, they'll be dismantled. They're largely already, but there's some people still working who are still doing what they think is their mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they haven't got the memo.
Got the memo. Talking of so FBI with President Trump with the raid, that's still, we can talk clearly about that, because that's all over the world still in the news. Have we got any thoughts on what we think might be the next stages, the next steps of that? Because that's maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that took place. Kind of where do we feel that's what we're going to see kind of next with that?
So from my experience, working in the CIA, we're starting to see like the rats are leaving the sinking ship. And like Janine said, there's a lot of them that have been programmed. And the program is kind of like what they do in the military, you obey orders, and people are like, yes, you obey orders, until you rise to a certain rank, or you're a free thinker from the get-go, you're going to be like, yes, obey orders. That's what a lot of the FBI and CIA, from my experience, that's what they do. We used to joke around how guys that were in our groups, former special forces guys, they were always trying to get us to join the CIA full time. And a lot of us are like, no, we're not going to get the lobotomy. And so we joke around with guys like, oh, you're going to get the lobotomy now. And they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. And we see them later and they're like lobotomized or something. It was weird. So there's something going on there, some kind of mind control, MK Ultra or something, because these guys were like rock solid. And then they go full time to CIA and boom, they're compromised. So I just saw an interview with Mark Zuckerberg and Joe Rogan. So in it, he mentions that the FBI came to Facebook and said, we want you to restrict the information on the laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop. And he's like, we decided that we weren't going to go full bore on that. We weren't going to just like cut people off. We're going to restrict it. So instead of millions of people seeing it, there's only thousands of people saw it. So I'm like, so Twitter basically cut them completely off. So I'm like, okay, we're seeing the FBI and the CIA because Facebook is CIA and Twitter is FBI. So they're having this little, they've always had this little rivalry. Like, it's weird. It's like both of them are pretty much the same
Who's the bigger
organization, but they're like the FBI guys want to play like CIA guys. And the CIA guys are like, no, we're top notch. You guys can't play with us. And that is a rivalry that's been going on for a long time. So for Zuck to come out and say that, I'm like, the ship is sinking. They know that, and they're trying to dime the other guys out. It's like the FBI came to us and we're like, no, he's CIA. So I'm like, this is very interesting. So that's the way I see it.
Seems like a robot now. A lot of people
Totally.
think
It's like, it doesn't even look human anymore. Like,
no, or an alien. I don't know.
Yeah.
As you said that, Rachel. Yes, he is a something non-human.
interesting.
He's been metaverse.
There's no soul left.
Yeah.
Right.
The life from, but
You
no
see
one
the time. You see the time lapse of the years, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for him to come out and say that openly means they're starting to spill in the beans. So they're trying to, and always it has multiple reasons. They have multiple manipulations when they reveal something like that. They're trying to dime out the FBI maybe, or they're trying to plant a seed for something else that's coming. So you have to look super big picture, with this stuff when they come out like that. It was very unusual for him to come to Joe Rogan and start to talk. So very interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that one. I didn't know that had taken place. Do you remember last couple of weeks ago when we did the last episode, I asked a question about Andrew Tate, the kickboxer, and how he was a white hat and he was very outspoken. So literally this week, the last week, he's been taken down off of social media. So his, I think Facebook and Instagram went, and they were big followings. And he's put out a video, I guess, to his email list, and he's titled it Andrew Tate, the Last Message. And he's basically kind of just saying what his thoughts on stuff are. But he seems to, I'm wondering, I thought he would come out kind of really just swinging, but he's kind of, it's almost like he's taken a step back. I guess my question is, have the white hats said just kind of step back for a little bit and then he'll kind of get let loose again when the time's right? Because I was surprised. I thought he'd be kind of, his nature seems to be like, well, he'll just attack, but he seems to say he's kind of take a step back, which I was surprised at. So I'm just wondering if it's been suggested to him to do that.
I'm gonna go with yes, and he was already thinking it was a good idea, but then he got a nudge with that. So he was already thinking, okay, this is a good idea. And there's a big, really messy situation all around that feels like it'll get revealed. There also could be really big fights and arguments around the situation. Would you know anything about that?
No, just that there's controversy around him, which we mentioned in the last show, but he basically speaks very kind of Trump-esque in many ways. He divides opinions, but he's very kind of dogmatic and forthright in his views. But I just was surprised by the kind of it seemed counterintuitive of how he might respond to something like that. But yeah, like you said, maybe there's other things we don't know of, and I don't know of anything other than what has kind of been out there before. But if he's been thinking about it, then maybe he felt the nudge. Yeah, I just was surprised by it because I listened to his final message and I was like, I thought it was maybe just kind of piece of marketing, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like he's actually kind of saying he's kind of going to reel it in a bit, which seems a shame in some ways because he was really a lot of the things he was saying I think needed to be said, and he's pro-Trump, and like we were saying in the last show, he's working with the White Hats, and he's become super popular in the last few months online. But now for him to kind of retreat, it seemed counterintuitive. But yeah, a lot of these things do.
There's a unique reason, and we'll see it soon enough. Things are about to take a big change according to this card. And I feel like it's to the advantage of the good guys that he does that.
Okay. Cool.
Did I hear that Space Force took over the NSA? Am I making this up, or is that true? Michael's, you heard?
I heard that.
You heard that? Is that some kind of a marker? Is that like one of the last steps? Because I feel like since Trump started Space Force and they're taking over all of the other intelligence agencies now, they're on top of all of it.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be a big marker in a good way.
Yeah.
Out of all the intel organizations, of course, they're all corrupted, but NSA is probably the better one, has more good guys in it. Yep.
Yeah.
It seems like it's the calm before the storm. I know we've said that a lot, but it's like a marker in a way that it's just before something gets revealed. I feel like that's been hidden to everybody. Like this is an ending. That's the deep state dark cult card. So I feel like I think it's a big marker to the end of these guys for good. We know they got a few more little plays, but I think they're really like their days are numbered at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like sorry, go on, Michael.
There was so along these lines, there's a guy named Gavin McGinnis that was arrested while he was doing a live show. He has this one show, I think it's called Get Off My Lawn or something like that. But during his live show, police came in, and I guess they originally identified themselves as federal, and they came in and they arrested him. The people have gone back, and because you can hear him talking to him, and he's like not being cooperative or something, and then when someone went in and did the sound and got deep into the sound, and they're like, yeah, you're being arrested, we're federal agents or something like that. So what I would like to know is, are they going to start to push back on those of us that are truthers and start arresting us? Or was that just a one shot, because it was in New York, they have a lot of control there? Was that just an intimidation, or is it going to start, or the rest going to come?
Yes to the first part of your question, which was it was the part that was saying it could be just a smoke screen, or it's a limited thing.
Mm-hmm,
so the part that you were saying, could it be just limited to that? Yes, I got yes while you were saying that. And I also get this card. So who's responsible? I got a feeling they if they did take them anywhere, or whoever those really were, they might have been white hats. So that could have been, because that's a secret card. So I feel like that was a bit of either part of the movie. I don't know if that guy was in on it or knew about it, but there was a secret going on. It wasn't what it appeared to be.
That's good. That was kind of my feel, because it didn't ring completely true. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't think that we're going to be arrested. I don't get that, but the intimidation thing is obviously happening when we get our YouTube channels taken down. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like we're protected. I feel like
Yeah,
I'm not really, I don't know why I don't feel fear, but I don't.
I think we're protected. Yeah, we are. Well, I know we are. But some of the rides have bumpy. You know what I was going to say, Janine? I feel like, so having Rachel here with me, it's making me feel like with you and Ashley doing a deep dive Friday, just like having your friends
Deep dive
doing
Friday.
it, like just here talking. It's
Super
like,
fun. I love
Oh,
doing
yeah.
it. Start them up
Absolutely.
again. Yeah, we're
I
gonna
love
start them
those.
up. Needed a
Deep
break.
Dive Friday.
Yeah.
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 But that's what it feels like. It's like, 'cause I don't think I've done a show with a fellow truther, like, here physically with me. So this is
Yeah.
cool. So I'm feeling like, oh, this is what Janine and Ashley do. So it's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It just that's what I'm thinking. What do we
Right on.
what do we feel for, have you, last time, Michael, you were talking about in spring, we kind of feel like there's a kind of clear up and we start to rebuild. Have you got any more things that have kind of come to mind in the last couple of weeks since we were talking about that? Any new beaches, or even a little further, say even into the summer, like where are we going to be this time, say next year?
Yeah. So yeah, I did get further on that, and it's not all good. It's kind of like when I said there's going to be dancing in the streets, and we had dancing, in the streets up in Canada, but it didn't end well. So it's not that bad, but it's not like the end. So it's like,
Okay.
we get relief. We see that things are moving in a good direction, but it's going to take more time. So it's going to
Okay.
be because I've been in war a lot, and I'm looking at everything that needs to happen, and I'm like, this is, even if everything went exactly how we've been describing, it's going, like Nassar Jassar type thing, quantum, and then somebody gets arrested, this person gets arrested, they get arrested, they go to trial, somebody comes back and takes over, and then we start taking down all the baddies, everywhere. If that happened like tomorrow, there would still be more things that would have to be, taken care of. You have governors, you have, people all over the world that are in charge, and so forth. So it's going to take a lot longer than, most people want to look at. I think we need to, like, maybe kind of have that idea, not get demoralized. I like to keep people focused and, happy. And because even when I was in combat zones, we're all like, we still joke around. We still have a good time.
Yeah.
I still work out, I still eat good, and talk to my family, and even though that night might be my last night, but you still have
a good meal.
still live your life.
Go
You have a good time, and
Yeah.
having lived that way and having my life almost taken many times, I think that, that's the way people should live. Not that today's your last day, but it's kind of like that mentality, you're just always living your life to the fullest every day.
Yeah, I think so, because you can get into that. I know I've done it. You can get into that feeling of like, oh, well, something major is going to happen, and therefore we should and that's kind of the be all and end all. And the thing is, it is the be all and end all. Oh, we've got a rainbow.
Huge rainbow.
It's not even raining,
No.
but we've got a huge rainbow here. Just turn it around and check. There's a beautiful rainbow. Wow. But I think that's good. I think that's good. I know the rainbows come and confirm what you're saying,
It's
Michael.
really big.
It's really big.
Protection.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Protection. You're protected. So
There
I
we go.
think you
Yeah,
gotta
we're protected.
trust bigger. Yeah, you gotta trust the bigger universe, even though like there's gonna be like hardships, like Michael said. So this would be the end. So when things get revealed in the movie, so that looks like it happens between now and then, and likely the very next thing that happens in a big way. Then comes, don't forget, the die-off, unfortunately. So a lot of people's relatives are sick. A lot of people's relatives are passing over. There's children, like way more funerals for little ones. Like, it's unbelievable the things going on. So there's going to be that, and that won't feel like celebration, because we still got to live through the consequences of the sleeping and people that agreed to have their sovereignty completely taken away, people that bent over and said, spank me some more, government, all the, that's how I see them.
That's a good
It's like,
visual. That's a good visual. I'll remember that one. Yeah, the people that bent over and got spanked. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, really?
That's
I did
the
not
rainbow.
I did
I
not
think you can
expect
see
that
it.
to come out of your
Oh
mouth.
my
Denise.
goodness.
Caught me off guard.
That's the rainbow, if you can see that.
That's beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw
Nice.
a rainbow too coming home from Haida Gwaii. We literally went under it. It felt like it was
Wow.
over top.
Oh,
I
my
think
God.
those are signs that things will get better, but the hard part will be seeing all the results. And then, of course, we have to get through all the people waking up and their trauma and drama around first knowing this. And these are people that resisted knowing and won't feel good about it, because it means they've been wrong. They've wronged their relatives. They might have even jabbed their kids and did horrific, or even themselves. And now that's maybe the part that's really not going to be fun. So there's the
Yeah.
aftermath.
Yeah.
I do worry about that. People saying, well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And I already know, I'm going to say I tried. If I would have told you this,
Yeah.
would you have listened to anything I said?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah. The storm, the awakening. The rainbow's got brighter again. That's got even brighter.
I can see it. I can see the whole thing.
There's a pot of gold at the end of
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah.
There it is. Pot of gold. Okay, yeah. So I think that's good advice. To live our lives, to keep growing. And you know what, as well, because this is a different type of war. You've been in physical combat, Michael, but this is a war of consciousness, a war of people's intellect, a war of people's souls, information. But you can actually, if you need to, you can kind of, wind it down in terms of your efforts for a period if you need to take a break, and then you can come back in kind of full steam ahead. So I don't know of wars like that. I've never been in a war this lifetime other than this one. But you can kind of come in. And so that's like, it's a different type, and that's why I feel the overriding feeling is, the White Hats are in control. They've got this. And President Trump said it, either said it during 2020 or prior to it, but there's a video clip of him out on the front lawn at the White House. He says, I caught the swamp, I caught them all. No one else could have done it but me. I might have mentioned this in the other video, but I think it's so powerful to remember, because he said it, he said, I caught the swamp, no one else could have done it. And so him and his team have done that, and I take him at his word for that. And so therefore this is a process of revealing now. And if you're going to change the whole world, if you're going to clean it from top to bottom, inside out and back to front and back again, you're going to do it in a way that the people don't really know unless they're interested and invested in trying to know, i.e. this community that we're blessed to be part of. But there's so many out there just getting on with their lives, and they want to get back to normal. But if you're trying to do this at the same time as preserve as much and protect the people, the normal people, that's the way you would do it. And it's just genius, and it's divine, and it's off well, because there's no way you could have done this just through meticulous planning, on a man's best laid plans. It's divine. It's a higher dimensional operation, and it's also exposing us and helping us remember that at the same time. So when I think about it, it's just awe-inspiring, the whole thing.
Yeah, like Janine was saying, to prevent people from casting spells on you and so forth. If you're in a love vibration, it doesn't happen. If you're in a love vibration, like we're in like a war zone almost, pretty much, then if you're in that love vibration, it doesn't affect you. It really doesn't. And it never affected me when I figured that out in combat zones. And all the guys, like I've talked about this for a while, all the guys that stayed angry, they all died. But those of us that stayed, kept positive, stayed in that love vibration, not only did we not die, but we also, everywhere we lived was easy. It was good. There was no problems.
Yep. Yeah, and people say, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with luck. It's personal work.
Right.
It's
Good.
personal work to get to a place of where you love yourself, you trust in the universe takes care of you because you believe it does. You've created that. That's a creation that you are powerful creative beings. If you want to create drama and all kinds of strife in your life, you just have to think that way all the time and then project it out to others. And guess what? It comes bouncing right back to you sevenfold. It's like the people that put out love. And I love that you were wearing that shirt, Michael. Love vibration. Yeah. You know, it's like, so like people put all kinds of horrific things on their shirts, the kind of words people will print and then wear a shirt saying. Sometimes I remind people, you don't want to be wearing those words, like because that's you're creating something, you're putting that out there, you're literally wearing some negative comment, and it's so uncool. They don't understand how we're magical creatures.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I had an experience yesterday, Janine. It's so on point that you bring it up like that. So when I traveled over, there was a delay. I won't go into the details of it, but there was a delay for my flight. I should have had the flight into the States in the morning, but there was a technicality that came up. And there was a whole bunch of people actually kind of that. Anyway, so cut long story short, we had to take the flight later. So about 8 or 9 hours. So we're just hanging out at the airport, which is annoying. And then I got to reroute and get another connecting flight, and I'm like, oh, it's going to cost me more money, and I'm kind of in the 3D world for a bit, and I'm like, you know, because we've all been brought up at different levels in terms of abundance and money, and money's a real thing here, in this world. And then I had a kind of a mini epiphany. I was like, well, what's the lesson of this? I was like, you know what, if I just don't worry about it and be like, okay, if I have to buy another ticket or another and rerouting ticket, so be it, and it doesn't matter. And I just had this kind of nice calm stillness, and the feeling I got was wealth and abundance, money, but abundance, because money is just a kind of a reflection of abundance, is just as freely available and divinely available as breathing air. And that's what the feeling I got from that, and I was like, okay, if I have to go through this waiting at the airport and be inconvenienced, but that was the kind of takeaway that I got. I was like, abundance in the future, and I guess the reality of it now is that abundance and wealth are just as freely available as the air that we breathe, and it just gets recycled, and it's just all there. It's not like this thing that will disappear. It was a bit of a paradigm shift. I mean, I've had those moments before, but actually having to live those moments and be sat in the airport and have my lesson for a few hours, I'm like, okay. Yeah. I felt good, I was like, okay, I'll get there, and I still get to where I've got to go. It's just, but the connection of abundance came through quite powerfully yesterday with that, And we're protected. We're going to continue to grow, and continue to soar, and there's no limit to any of it.
I've found when I hear, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, good. I find when I get those kind of things happening, like unexpected delays, and I just switch it in my mind to believing it's to my advantage. Somehow this is going to be good. And it always turns to be that way. Like one time I went the wrong way coming back from Haida Gwaii. I didn't turn down this one road that would take me from Jasper to Calgary. So 5 hours. So I had 5 hours to get home. I added 2 hours to it. And that's brutal when you've been driving for 5 already. So I added 2 hours by taking the route to Edmonton instead, than having to backtrack to Calgary. It was horrifying at first in my mind. Then I found out once I got home and was all grumpy about it, I found out that there was a big, huge accident that would have happened. So it was in what they call the parkway that takes you through the ice fields, which is very treacherous. If you've never driven it, it's beautiful, but you're literally going, in really treacherous roads through the mountains. And there's huge RVs in front of you going 20 up the hills. It's very frustrating, but a huge mass accident happened. And there were 3 or 4 bikes. So people were on bikes, and some vehicle came up and took them all out, and unfortunately, came around a corner and didn't see them. And they had to airlift these people out that had died on their bikes. Okay, I could have been in, that was perfect. If you looked at the timing of it, I would have been either held up by that anyway, because they bottleneck that for hours when you have an actual passing over on the highway. And they had to airlift these people out. So there was huge holdups for everybody. I would have had to wait anyway in a hot car. And secondly, I could have been involved in the accident because it was right at the time I would have been going right by there.
Wow.
So like, that's just one example of every time I've ever been held up. So now I just spin it in my mind. People think I'm
Yeah.
like a perpetual positive thinker, but it's like, no, it's the universe showed me. It
Yeah.
has a reason for everything. And if you get held up, there's a good reason. You might have had to meet somebody. You might have had to come to that conclusion, Tom.
Yeah.
You might have had
Yeah.
to have time to think something out. Something good happened.
Yeah.
That's what I told you.
You did. Yeah.
I said, well, it's probably good that you weren't on that flight. Maybe something,
Yeah.
you would have had to sit by a crying baby the whole time or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I did actually sit next to a guy and his little baby, well, little daughter. But they were lovely people, really special people, and little beautiful daughter. She was good as gold, really quiet and lovely, and yeah. But it's good being a perpetual optimist. I am, and I think there's just only one way to be, because otherwise, like you say, with the words, if you put it on a T-shirt or wherever, or if it's constantly in people's minds, that's what they're going to attract. There's a simple phrase where energy goes, where attention goes, energy flows. And I think it's real. I believe it's real. Well, it is. It's what you focus on, you get more of it. So, yeah. Did you have any examples of like that sort of thing in combat, Michael, where you got delayed or there were certain things, and then it's like looking back in hindsight, you're like, we know why that happened. We got out of harm's way because of this X, Y, Z, of these things that you weren't in control of, but you were way better off as you saw what transpired.
I got hundreds of those, but one of them that will stand out and make a lot of sense to everyone, and be very impactful of why you want to keep your thoughts positive and make sure the people around you have very positive thoughts. And a lot of people might remember or if you haven't seen hidden messages, I think it is in Water by Dr. Emoto. It's a great way. There's tons of YouTube videos on that. So if you are like, I don't know, look at that video and you will no longer doubt. So to give you an example of consciousness and how it can be, it can draw to something. So for many years, I would come into a place when I learned how to do this and send out my consciousness like a bubble of love, and there'd be no attacks. And I could feel attacks coming, and I would focus on them and send it love, and the attacks wouldn't come. So I learned that over years, and I was teaching this one guy, former Navy SEAL like me, and he was coming along really well. He was, very intuitive. Actually went on to write books for children and all kind of crazy stuff. He went on talk shows. He did really good with it. But I was training him, and he was, like I said, he was doing really good. And we're doing a little some kind of little training. I forget what it was one night. Maybe shooting, training, whatever it was. And something hit me like there was an attack coming. So I was like, this is going to be bad, so I'm focusing on it, and he picked up on it. He's like, Mike, what is it? And so first of all, I was like, I shouldn't tell him because he's not ready for this information yet. So that came into my mind. And then I overrode it, and I said, well, it'll be good training for him. And so I told him, I see an attack coming tomorrow. I'm focusing on it. I'm trying to stop it out. But somebody's coming to blow up, put a bomb in front of a little girls' school. And he's like, oh no. So his emotions got hooked by it because he had two little girls. So when he said that, oh no, I knew that he had focused on it and pulled it in because no one else knew about this but me, because I had that consciousness, and I'm calming it. I'm stopping it. And by him hooking it like that, I was like, I'm going to have to work extra hard. So I stayed up late that night. I'm sending out the love, trying. I was like, I don't know if I got it. It feels like it's coming in. So I get up the next morning early. We're going to do some work or whatever. And on the news, somebody had ridden their one of those motorbikes and had a little pouch in the back. left in front of the little girls' school, blew up and killed a bunch of little girls as they're going into school because they don't like women to learn. So they like to keep them dumbed down in the Middle East, unfortunately. So I was like, damn it. It's like I shouldn't have told him. But that's the power of your thoughts. Even with someone like me that has a lot of power, positive power, someone else can come in with negative thoughts and cause a negative reaction like we're talking about. So it's very, very important that you surround yourself with positive people. I know a lot of people right now say that's impossible, but don't always share with them, your positive stuff. Just send out the love, just keep doing it. It does make a difference. And so there's your example of good and positive, and the negative that can come in and take it down. So we're in that battle right now, that good versus evil, negative energy forces and thoughts and stuff, and the good positive forces, love, energy, pushing back on it. So we will win eventually, but there's going to be some victories on their side, but more victories on our side as we learn this and move forward with it.
Just shows you how important the news is, because if the news is putting stuff out there, then people are fearful. They're bringing that in.
Spellcasting, yeah, absolutely.
People, yeah. Interesting.
Magnifies. It's interesting. You said positive power, Michael, and that stood out to me in amongst the things you said. Positive is 115, and power is 77, which is Christ.
I guess I'm the host now.
You're the host. Yikes.
So hopefully those guys come back in. But yeah, Janine, I mean, I subscribe to your channel, and you're doing great work. Good job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you still have a lot of your courses available, Michael?
Yes. Yes. Video, audio courses, and they do really well.
Sweet. And did you get that T-shirt from your own supply, or do you sell those?
Yeah, I have a line, and I got all these different shirts and stuff. My son-in-law does it, and he does an amazing job. Very artistic.
Yeah, because I've heard you say that, and of course, everybody will remember if they watched you with your singing bowls. I'll never forget that one time you did that on Mother's Day. I just loved it.
Good.
That was
Yeah,
my
that was a
Mother's
good one.
Day. Yeah. And that was a bad Mother's Day because we were really locked down. So we really needed that. Us Canadian mamas, we needed that. We needed you to do that.
Well, good. Glad. I mean, just like we were talking about the positive energy, when you focus on that and you just like stay in that vibe, it totally makes a difference.